It's currently Saturday afternoon here in the Western Pacific, and we are still tracking Typhoon Komori, also known as Tisoy, in the Philippines. And this storm system still intensifying as it slowly tracks off here towards the west. It does have some cool air pulling in from the north. That's what you see here, all this open cell cumulus coming in with a cold surge, and that's kind of keeping the intensity down for now. But eventually, this is going to overcome that cooler air, and we're already seeing that here on our satellite imagery. In fact, winds right now are 80 knots, gusting up to 115 knots. Pressure is at 955 hectopascals, according to the Japan Meteorological Agency. But you can just take a look at the satellite frame over the last few frames. Just the convection continues to grow, and even on visible satellite imagery, you get kind of a better idea with those overshooting cloud tops as this slowly churns off towards the west. Overall, plenty of good moisture coming in from the south to fuel up this storm system. And don't forget, this is moving over sea surface temperatures that are 30 degrees plus, so that also is adding fuel to it. And latest microwave imagery, now this just kind of shows you peering down through the clouds at the bulk of the convection of this storm. And in the last few frames, you're starting to see that eye wall wrap around, which is indicating a strengthening storm system. Here it comes, starting to wrap around right in there, and that's what we're really beginning to see. And once that becomes completely organized, that's when we're really going to start to see the storm system intensify even more so. And not to mention the upper level winds also showing plenty of big lungs for this storm system to breathe. Remember, these are like a machine, so when you have inflow down at the surface and outflow aloft, that's indicating a well organized machine and really just starting to fire on all cylinders. And that's why, according to the Japan Meteorological Agency, winds of 100 gusting up to 140 knots prior to landfall. Not super typhoon intensity, but not a weak storm by any means either. Now, do know this is going to be coming on shore there in the Bicol region and eventually pushing south of Manila, according to the Japan Meteorological Agency. This means that everybody along the coast, of course, still under that threat of storm surge and severe flooding. So likely landfall there in Bicol. Then it's going to track west towards Manila, I think just south, potentially dangerous storm, though, at landfall. And, of course, the storm surge, rain, and damaging winds are all major issue. So let's start off by taking a look at that wind forecast, because as we go ahead into Monday afternoon, showing about right here, you start to see that flow coming in from the north, and that's a big issue for these low-lying areas there across Bicol. Is that actually I went a little bit too far? I want to stop right about there, because I mean this flow coming in, especially in some of these bays and inlets here, is really going to be causing that threat of some significant storm surge in some of these low-lying areas that are more prone to flooding. And eventually that's going to work its way further towards the west. Let's go ahead into Tuesday morning. You start to see that wraparound. And the latest ECMWF model actually keeps this track just towards the south Luzon. So it kind of maintains some of that intensity as it moves over these inland seas here and eventually heads off there towards the west, south of Manila Bay. I mean, this is definitely a pretty rough scenario for all of these islands, and eventually even the Manila area, you're still going to see plenty of that convection wrap around with it as well. Now, I do want to note, let's stop it right about there. And what I'm going to do is change the forecast model over towards the GFS, because the GFS has been showing it a little bit further towards the north than what ECMWF has been saying, but it's not by much, but it does make kind of a big difference here. And it's not just the winds, but it's also the rainfall, which is going to be a big issue. Actually, here shows you upwards about 650 millimeters based on the latest GFS model run for some of these locations across Bicol. So flooding is also going to be a major issue, not only along the immediate coast, but of course the chance of landslides, even extending back here towards the north as well. Because do remember, yeah, this is going to interact with the northeast monsoon, but what that's going to bring is plenty of moisture wrapping around with gusty winds as far north as Cagayan as well, as kind of tracks off there. Now, this is one other thing I do want to note. The overall model, or the overall agency track, let's go back to this, overall agency track is still pretty consistent. The Joint Typhoon Warning Center has actually shifted a little bit further north. Maybe they don't think that monsoon's going to push this far enough south, but regardless, everybody in here is going to be impacted by typhoon strength winds. It's not a matter of if you're not going to be impacted by them or not. It's a matter of who's going to be hit the hardest, I think, at that point within that specific area. I do hope you found this video useful. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions as well, please post them in the comment box below. And as always, though, stay safe out there. Definitely stay safe out there. Be sure to follow your local warnings as well. I know a lot of people like these updates, but do continue to check in with the Joint Typhoon Warning Center, as well as Japan Meteorological Agency as well. All right, stay safe.